All right, we're rolling. We're rolling, and we are back. I'm Adam,
I'm Peter.
and we are completely unprepared. All apologies about that. We're just gonna roll. So,
Roll with it.
how are you doing, Peter?
I'm doing all right, brother. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good.
Good stuff. Good.
Yes. We got a little hat head.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've got a little fat head.
Yeah.
I'm here all day, like I said before.
All right. So, what's new?
What's new? Not much is new.
Okay. What's old?
Me.
Okay.
Nothing's going on.
Alright.
Just getting through it. Just getting through it, day by day, step by
Okay.
step. Looking forward to a weekend of work.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yes. All right. Well, let's talk about music.
Let's talk about music. Love music. Big fan.
All right. Yeah. This is the theme. Let's make it the theme.
Yep. All right.
All right. What kind of music do you like? Let's start from there.
A lot of different music. I like a lot of different music. But grew up listening to metal, rock. Had a little leeway into country there for a while. Not a fan of pop music. Not a fan of like J-pop and K-pop and all that kind of stuff. Definitely not a fan of Kanye, right? How about you, mate? What music do you like?
Well, growing up, I was a child of the 80s. So we had 80s pop music, which I guess is somewhat different than pop. Like, it's not J-pop or K-pop, but like American and British.
Some pop in the 80s was cool.
In the Australian.
There's some good pop music in the 80s.
Amazing. I mean, I'm thinking about Michael Jackson, Madonna,
Duran.
In Excess.
In Excess. Played cricket with those guys.
Yes. Yeah. Groups like that.
Ferris Brothers.
And
Great musicians, shit cricketers.
I love the music production. That's in the 80s is when I fell in love with. I feel like it's a guilty pleasure to admit this, but one album that really influenced me as a child was George Michael's Faith album, and it wasn't all the songwriting, but the electronic music productions and song like Hard Day and Monkey and tracks like that. As a kid, I was like, what are these sounds? And that, for those who don't know, I love drum and bass. I produce drum and bass regularly on East Forms Drum and Bass, and the birth of that would be in the production there. And also albums. Let's talk about albums.
Let's talk about albums.
Okay, how about we do top 5? We'll do 5. I would like yours to be the grand finale. So let's go. I'll say a 5. We'll go 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2,
Whatever
1, 1.
whatever you like.
Is that
mate.
cool? Okay. Because
yeah.
I'd like to put yours on there.
So we're going number 1 is our top album, yes?
Yes.
Alright,
Okay, so number 5. Okay. So it means I have to quickly prepare because I'm unprepared as usual. So I will say my 5th album off the top of my head would be The Doors' Greatest Hits. The Doors.
Righto, okay.
When I first heard this album, I thought it was extremely cheesy with the organ, but the more I listened to it, the more I could get into the lyrics, and the multi-layer and dimension of Jim Morrison's lyrics really inspired me. How he's able to say one thing poetically and mean and talk about different things at the same time. And then the jazz guitarist, how he was able to play bass and guitar at the same time. And for me, it's just timeless music that always puts me in a particular state. I love this album. There it is. I'll say number 5, The Doors.
Fair enough.
And
Ray Manzarek, when did he die? How many years ago did he die? 2 or
just
3 years ago?
a few years ago,
Right.
recently.
Right.
Yeah.
I was never a Doors fan, but I do appreciate their contribution
Yeah.
to music, right? Like sort of things. So
Well, one thing about Jim Morrison, just on the end note here, is I see influences from especially his live performance in so many acts that followed, like the Cult,
Right.
which ironically the singer became the lead singer of the Doors.
yeah. But I love the Cult. I love them.
Yeah,
Great.
the Cult.
Listening to them this morning, actually, on the
Oh,
train
really?
ride away. Yes, I was.
Okay, sorry. Number 5.
Go on, go on.
What do you got?
Number 5. It's hard for me to put them in order because they're like all the albums that I love have an emotional connection to them, a period of time.
Sure.
But I'm gonna say Now this could be 5 or 4, right? So I'm not sure. But it's definitely in the top 5. Is Theatre of Pain by Motley Crue.
Oh.
Right. A lot of people say, what? Well, the reason that it's in the top 5 is that at that period of my life, at that period of time, it was just the memories that brings back that album. It's got to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Great album. And it was the second vinyl that I ever bought.
How far along in their career was this album?
Third album.
Oh, third album. Okay.
Third album. Yep. So, cool. Yep. I loved it. I realized it was probably a little bit more poppy than like Shout at the Devil and stuff, right? But I just loved it.
I remember Dr. Feelgood.
That's much later. Right? Much later.
Oh, it is much later.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. That's also a good album. Love it, but
yeah.
not top 5. No emotional connection to it.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4 for myself is as you were talking about the emotional connection and like where we were in our lives.
You changed your list, didn't you? Because of my comment, you changed your list. You thought, oh, hang on.
No, actually, no. What I was going to say is it's not so much an emotional connection. It's what this album did to me when I heard it. So it's connected.
Yep.
But,
go on then. Yep.
So this album, when I was in high school, my old buddy Jim Tustin, we were going to go and watch.
Is Jim still alive?
Yes, he's still alive.
Hello, Jim.
Yes.
If you see this, g'day, mate.
Yeah, he's a tough nut.
You're a tough nut.
Yes.
Mate.
Anyway, so we had planned to go and watch the midnight movie, which was Pink Floyd The Wall, and we got a heavy snowfall, and we couldn't go out to see it. Ooh. So what we did is we stayed in, and his parents weren't home, so he cranked it up in the stereo, and we just like kind of meditated and listened to Pink Floyd, the entire album from beginning to end, with no visuals, with our own imaginations. And that moment, it's funny when you have these experiences in life, you don't realize that this single instance right now changed the entire course of your life. I didn't realize that music could do that. Like, musically, the album is hit and miss. It's not my favorite musical album. That's why it's number 4. But it changed my life. Listening to what they did with soundscapes, and kind of like house music and, well, I guess earlier disco and drum and bass, how it brings you into a trance-like state, and they introduce almost new planets. It's difficult to articulate and describe it in words, but what they do in that album, for those who understand what I'm talking about, it just takes you away on a kind of journey or a musical trip. And I didn't realize music could do that.
Fair
so
enough.
thank you, Jim, and thank you, Roger Waters and Pink Floyd for doing that.
Pink Floyd for me was always overrated. I got to no, that's cool. And
Fair enough.
Again, I appreciate their contribution, but it was just always overrated. Like a what's that ballad that they play that absolutely everybody
Comfortably Numb. Yeah, it was covered by U2.
Right.
U2 and Pearl Jam covered it.
It's one of the most depressive songs ever written for me.
Oh, yeah. Totally depressing. What we didn't realize, because a lot of my friends were really into Pink Floyd, and then we heard that in their heyday, they were the big UK pop band. And we're like, oh, they were popular? We didn't know that. For us, it was like a cult following. It was like, oh, did you get a little Pink Floyd? Did you hear it? But we didn't know that they were, as you say, so overrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Just an opinion. You can disagree.
One thing I love about being an adult is we can express opinions without any emotional attachment. If we're a little bit younger, we're like, what? You don't agree with my opinion? Authority. But we just express opinions. We totally disagree on things, and it's great. I love it.
And he's happy to admit that he's wrong.
Case in point. Number 4, go.
Album number 4. Okay. Again, this has got to be in that 5 somewhere, right? But it's not top 1, right?
Sure.
Revolver, the Beatles.
And why Revolver?
The songwriting on Revolver is just fantastic. The way it's recorded, the panning and left, the panning right and left, and just the way it's done, I just love it. I think it's fantastic, right? As you know, I'm a big fan of the Beatles, but I think my favorite album of theirs is Revolver.
So what sets that one apart from the other albums then?
Well, it's just for me, just a personal connection,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the songwriting on all of their albums is great, right? But for me, that just is the top of it. Love it, and it's on my playlist. I listen to it often. The whole album sitting as opposed to just songs. It's fantastic.
Okay, I don't know much about the Beatles, so
The way it's mixed is really cool.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So revolver, is that referring to the firearms? A revolver, or does that mean revolving like a plate, like the vinyl plate? What does the revolver mean? Does
It
have
means that it's revolving.
It's revolving. Okay, like the planets. Right. Okay.
I have no idea,
Okay. Well, I guess it's open-ended. It's like interpretational.
but love it. And the reason I discovered the mixing on that is I wear earphones,
Oh, nice.
and
way.
one of the earphones broke. Only one side was working.
How unfortunate.
So I was listening to Revolver and I could only hear half of the album.
Yeah.
There was vocals, there were vocals that I couldn't hear. There were guitar tracks that I couldn't. I thought, that's funny. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah.
Then I realised, and I got new headphones, and then I realised that the whole panning thing. This was a long time ago, right? Sort of thing. But I just love the way it's done.
Wow. That reminds me. We'll take next one, number 3. My number 3 album.
Yep.
Is No Code by Pearl Jam. Critics say this is one of the worst albums. For me, it's one of my favorites. And what made me think of it actually was, you're talking about half of the album, is when I got this, my old buddy Bill, big shout outs to William.
Is Bill still alive? William
Still alive.
William, God bless you, brother.
It's funny that we have to keep asking, every friend's still alive?
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Love. Respect. Peace.
So, yeah, I got this, was on cassette tape, and we're like, yeah, let's listen to this. We went down by the pulp and paper factory, looking at the Anyway. So we listened to half it, so I've got the earbud in, he's got the other earbud in, and we're like, it started. No, it hasn't. What? Because they do a lot of left-right sound production.
Wait, you were sharing earphones?
Sharing earphones.
That is so romantic, bro. Did you make out?
Yeah, no.
This is something we're going to touch on next week. Adam, what was his name? William?
Yeah.
William, Adam and William. Hello. All right.
Yeah.
Go, please continue.
No chance. But it was an interesting musical experience because it would cut right down the middle. Okay, so why do I like the album? Stylistically, it jumps all over the place. The album itself has got a hard rock, punk rock sound, and then it has more of an introspective, poetic side. And Eddie Vedder talks about, the end, like what does this life mean, and life after death, and about dealing with your own. Like it really encapsulates life itself, and it's a bit of a dirty album in the sense that they were breaking boundaries. This is the point where they had the feud with was it Ticketmaster? It's because their next album after that would be Yield, which was much more conservative. That's when they kind of learned their lesson. But No Code is just wild, and also the artwork. Each album they had a theme inside it, like Vitalogy had a specific theme, and No Code had a lot of square images of it's like patchwork all over the place. I love it. Okay, anyway, over to you. Number 3.
Okay, I'm gonna say number 3, and again, right, going back to Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue.
Whoa. 2 Motley Crues on your list.
Well, they just had that. Okay, so we haven't got to my number 1 yet, and you'll say, no, hang on. I guess I'm gonna stick with that. There's a couple that. Top 5. Who does this, right? Anyways, so Shout at the Devil has my favourite Motley Crue song on it.
Yeah.
Which is Too Young to Fall in Love.
Too Young to
Right?
Fall in Love.
Yes, I just love the song. I love what Tommy Lee is doing on the drums in that.
Was he doing
right?
wrong?
He's got this whole rolling thing going with the and the bass drum is like on the second and the fourth. It's just very, very cool, and it's just continuous. It thumps along, right? And it's something that like a recorded and live works. It's just really good, and of course the emotion of the song, the lyrics of the song. It's just a great song, and the whole album is good, right? But just love it, right? Yes, as a younger guy, I was a massive Motley Crue fan. And then I'll get to my top 2 albums. Wait!
Top 2.
Hang on, no. Hang on a second. Okay. I have 2 at number 3.
This is going to happen.
I've got 2 at number 3. I've got to also... No, or is it number 2? Okay, I've got to say Kiss Revenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We could kind of... The numbers are a basic guideline.
Massive album, massive comeback for them guys into just the raw energy, that whole Kiss sexuality, charisma type thing that came back with Revenge was phenomenal, right? It's all tongue in cheek. It's the music is it's just great. It's a great album. So I guess I've got those somewhere around the same place, right? Because I mean, splitting Motley Crue, Kiss, and then my number 1 band, it's really tough to do.
Yeah, it's just thinking about it now, it's almost impossible. But basically, like, these are well respected albums, like albums we really like. So what are we on now? Number 2. Number 2. Difficult. Number 2, I'll have to go with another album that has a few elements to make this top list. One is that it's timeless, that I can still listen to it and still feel that initial feeling I felt when I heard it before. So it has to be timeless, and also the entire album has to work as an entire piece, like a painting. But my number 2 is Stone Temple Pilots' Purple. Purple. I love this album because there are many different rock and roll albums that have a particular flavor to them, and when Purple came out, the word describes the style of the music itself. Very nasally guitars, very very nasty lyrics. Again, talking about many different things, very sexual, I guess, in nature, but the overall style that came across through the entire album, and of course my second album, like the hidden track at the end is just like hilarious. Tracks like Vaseline, Meat Plow. I remember like the first time I heard Meat Plow in a woman's clothing store waiting, and then that track came on. It was just...
Ask him why he was in a woman's clothing store.
Waiting.
We'll go into that when we talk about his relationship with William before with the earphones, but do it next week.
Yeah, right. So there it is. Purple. Stone Temple Pilots, number 2. Number 2.
Number 2, again, I've got 2 albums that sit at number 2, right? One is for the historical meaning for me, and the other is for the guitar playing. I've got to say, it's a judge. Number 2 is this. I think I've mentioned like 8 albums already.
That's fine.
So number 2. Okay, my first choice at number 2 would be "Bark at the Moon," Ozzy Osbourne.
And why?
Love Jakey Lee.
Yeah.
Love Ozzy Osbourne. The attitude. Not the best singer, but just the whole package. It's just Ozzy, right? Yeah. If you're a metal fan, there's no way you could not enjoy it, right? I've got... we're talking about best bands, right? I often had the discussion with people in my past about who's the best singer, right? Who's the best metal singer, right? And I always said Ozzy. I know he's not the best singer, just I liked him, right? The other one was Ronnie James Dio, right? So things you got, who's better, Ronnie James Dio or Ozzy? I mean, they're both in Black Sabbath, yeah? Sort of thing. So...
Did you met him?
I did meet Ronnie James Dio, yes. Yeah. Before he passed away, sadly left us way too long, right? For me, it was always Ozzy. Bark at the Moon was, I guess, like it was my first exposure to him, right? Ozzy Osbourne and Jakey Lee. I remember where I was when I first heard the song Bark at the Moon. I remember where I was when I first saw the clip. I was with a guy, and anybody from my side that will see this will remember Sean Brown. Right, was a guy from our town, was a guitarist, a phenomenal guitar player, right? Him and I were friends for many years, right? And it all started when I was about 14 or 15. I walked up to the local park to sneak in a cigarette, and he was 1 year above me. He was doing the same thing. He was sneaking out for a cigarette, right? But he forgot his lighter. He said, "Hey mate, have you got a lighter?" And I said, "Yeah, use them." And we started chatting and stuff. And he said, "Come over and listen to some songs." So I went over to his place and he got his guitar out and stuff, and we put on a couple of songs, but Bark at the Moon was one of them. And I thought, oh my Lord, what is this? Right? Mm-hmm. And that's when things started to go in different directions for me in life.
Wow.
So that's the one. The other album that I would put at number 2, hard to split, again, is Ozzy Osbourne, right? Mm-hmm. No More Tears. For similar reasons, right? No More Tears is
89.
Yeah, Zakk Wylde, phenomenal guitar player who I saw live, right? When Ozzy toured Australia many years ago, right? Zakk Wylde was that kind of like real Randy Rhoads type player, and was a massive fan of Randy Rhoads, of which I am as well, right? Sort of thing. So hard to split these albums, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the No More Tears, the ambience. Mm-hmm. Or the feel of No More Tears, that real creepy, dark, evil, like that sort of thing. That's just phenomenal, and it's done so well on that album, right? So those two albums, they kind of sit at number 2 for me: Bark at the Moon and No More Tears. Great, great.
All right, so that brings us to number 1.
Number one, the big one.
Number 1, in my mind, I have 2 that are like doing a sumo match in my mind, and I'll tell you the one that got bumped off of number 1 is Michael Jackson's Thriller,
right?
Which for a long time is my all-time favorite album for so many reasons. And again, it's largely electronic music production that I'm a fan of. And in that album in particular, they produced it to work on like small earphones and a car stereo and a big stereo system. And so it's EQ'd and it's a production masterpiece. But what bumped it out off the sumo mat is Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
You know it. See, that's going to be in the top. Like, how do you do a top 5?
Yeah.
What an album.
Yeah. So I'm sure everyone likes it for different reasons. A couple of reasons that I really like it. One is the artwork. The artist who designed it initially was a tattoo. The CD artwork on the inside was the original cover, but the record label was like, you can't show that on the cover. And his name escapes me now, but the artist who did that artwork, phenomenal artist. He actually created Juxtapose American Artwork magazine. The whole magazine is in that particular gritty, realistic, weird, dirty style. But the album itself, all the characters, I love how like Slash is like, I think of Transformers, he's like Soundwave, and then you have like Axl. There's so many reasons, and I'm sure if you enjoy this album, you have your own list of reasons why you like this. I'll just try to cut it short. One reason why this still stands as a very strong album in my own is that they came and they played at Saitama Super Arena, and they played Appetite for Destruction, most of those songs there. And my wife came along, and she's never heard of Guns N' Roses, and she's very particular about singers and if they can sing well and this and that. And she heard them, and as soon as Axl came on, she was like, he can sing really well. She's a trained vocalist, so she can pick out what he's doing. She's like, this is amazing. And the entire Super Arena was on their feet, and they still hit it home. So I'll stop right there. That's my number 1. Over to you.
Ready? Soldiers Under Command, Stryper, number 1.
And why? Why this one?
The whole meaning of the album and the role that it played in my life, in my conversion to Christ.
Wow. And how?
We weren't going to talk about religion, and I know I've talked about Kiss and Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne and stuff, but this was a massive part of my life.
Are they a Christian band?
They yes. Well, they sing songs about God. The reason I say it is because they don't say like they say they're a band for non-Christians talk about God. Right? They don't say they're a Christian band for Christians. Right? Sort of thing. So there's a difference, right?
Petra.
No, there's a ministry side, and then there's the actual praise and worship side. right? Sort of thing. So they're more like a ministry type, like getting out there and spreading the word.
I see.
Massive impact on my life. And I've got like I said, so many albums, but that's huge.
Wow.
So I finished on a heavy note, but that's life. That's the way it is. That's my faith. That's what I am.
So I said we were going to talk about religion,
Yep.
But I just don't feel like it. To be honest,
No, absolutely.
But I have a question. The last podcast we did, you made a musical reference, and one tiny fun mistake was made in order to play with you, the audience. Did you catch what it was?
You told me about this, and I forget what you're talking about, but I do remember you told me.
Johnny used to work on the dogs.
Yes.
So it was a fun little mistake, like Astro Boy. In order to play with you, can you catch what the mistake? Did you catch what it was? Because I confess, I never would have caught it. He got it. What was it? Answer.
I got it because I think I made the mistake, right? For some reason, right?
And you got it.
Right.
I have no idea. Okay.
Well, Tommy used to work on the dogs.
Tommy.
For some reason, Johnny just gets stuck in my head. And again, hello, Slippery When Wet. Can I not put that in my top 5? Right? Like this is a ridiculous question that's causing me extreme amounts of stress right now.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Great.
Slippery When Wet, massive. This is like a family album for me and my sister and family stuff like this. Is something that we did together.
I'm so sorry.
We gotta go.
We gotta go.
Yes, love you.
So, peace. Till next time.